We haven't forgotten about Rampage, as Rampage was preempted to tonight. And we will be doing one more video today, that being our preview for Rampage, as Rampage is set to take place later tonight after the NHL playoffs moved it to Saturday instead of Friday. But with that being said, we got more news to get to, and we're going to start with an interesting story from AEW, as MJF clearly is not afraid of Bill Goldberg, as he said that he would, well, basically take care of Big Bill if Big Bill came to AEW. And, I mean, honestly, I doubt Bill Goldberg would come to AEW. I know he wants to do a retirement tour. I know he wants to do something special and wants to go out on his terms. But the fact of the matter is, unless it was just a one and done, I don't see Bill Goldberg coming to AEW. You know what I mean? I don't see him having a contract like he did with WWE and making the move to AEW. I don't think that WWE released him because of any ill will towards Goldberg from Triple H. I think it was just time to release Goldberg. There was nothing else for him to do. Yes, if they would have given him the option to possibly stand there and say, you get one more match, pick your opponent, you're going to lose, then maybe that would have been different and maybe Goldberg would still be under contract. But I don't necessarily know if that's something that WWE could do at this point right now. That's all I gotta say. We move over to Bray Wyatt, as there is still, according to reports, no plans for Bray to come back anytime soon. And that is something that I, for one, am happy about, because I will stick to what I said, that Bray Wyatt should not come back anytime soon until the company has a set plan for what they want him to do and a set direction for him to go in. Because that is something that Bray needs if they want him to come back. It's that simple. And he should not come back until they can say, for a 6-month period, they know what he's going to be doing. And now we slide back over to SmackDown to talk about another return. And that other return we will be talking about is not a return that took place on SmackDown this past week, but instead a return that could be taking place sooner rather than later, as Xavier Woods fought Gunther on this past week's episode of SmackDown for the Intercontinental title, put in a very well versed effort against the Ring General. But the rumor has it is that the feud between the New Day and the Imperium could be far from over, as a rivalry between Big E and Gunther could be in the cards for when Big E is 100%. And it wouldn't just be a rivalry between Big E and Gunther, it would be a rivalry between the New Day and Imperium. Which would be, oh boy. If you thought Gunther versus Sheamus was good, can you imagine how good Gunther versus Big E would be? And not just that, but also seeing Big E return to the main roster, or wrestling in general. How rewarding that would be to see Big E back in the ring. Oh boy. Oh boy. I think that's something that everybody would love to see. An easy rumor now is, and this is just a rumor at this point, an easy rumor at this point is that WWE may be partnering up with UFC once the merger is official, where UFC would do show for international premium live events. WWE and UFC would both do shows in the same area over the course of that basically WWE, how NXT and WWE did shows back in the day. How WWE and NXT did shows back in the day, that's how UFC and WWE would do shows. But the fact of the matter is, the one question I would have is UFC usually does shows on Saturday, as does WWE. So if you want both to do premium live events in the same place at the same time, it would be a little difficult because of the fact that both do shows on the same day. That's all I gotta say. You want to have it be a spectacular, then you may have to move either WWE's back to Sundays, or unless you maybe have NXT run with UFC. Basically, also you have it where WWE fans don't always gravitate towards UFC. Because UFC and WWE have different fan bases to a degree. That's all I got to say about that. But that's all I got to say about that, as there is nothing really to say about it at this point, because it's just rumors. Rumor and innuendo at this point of what they could do, because they have not figured out the small details or the semantics. Again, we have an update on All In, but we have to shift over to CM Punk for a second, as CM Punk has yet to apologize to the Young Bucks. Which, just that story alone, the fact that he has yet to apologize to the Young Bucks, are we talking about, 30, 40-year-olds? Or are we talking about, high school kids? You know what I mean? I don't understand. I don't understand how it's this difficult. The one thing I would say is that that right now, the rumors still has it that Punk's first feud in AEW, or coming back to AEW, will be with Chris Jericho, and a meeting between Chris Jericho and CM Punk alongside Tony Khan and FTR is still set to take place in the coming weeks before Punk's return in June. But it's still like, are these guys adults or are they children? You haven't apologized yet to them? I don't get the tension, and I don't think we ever will, but the fact of the matter is, it just seems a little like, would this happen elsewhere? I guess is the best way to put it. You know what I mean? Wade Keller also doesn't seem too confident or keen on the idea of the Jericho Punk meeting. He doesn't know that he doesn't see that he's not sure if much would be accomplished from the meeting, or if much would be gained, but he doesn't necessarily discount the idea of it possibly helping, but it also could possibly hurt. So, basically, in my opinion, it seems like Wade Keller is more left in the dark as much as we are, and he's just basically covering all his bases, as he's saying he's 50-50 on the meeting, if it will be good or if it will not be. Which I think all of us are, and I think all of us are 50-50 on this general situation at this point. But I think a lot of us, I don't know, I doubt it's just me, but I think a lot of us are or will be happy to see Punk back in AEW, because the one thing that is worth noting is Punk's not going to be in AEW for the long term. He's going to be in AEW for now, because he's not going to be wrestling 5 years down the road. We may be surprised, but I highly doubt it. I think it's more likely that within 5 years, Punk will probably be retired. And he just wants to get back and go out on his terms, and go out there for a few more years and do a few more matches, because if his last run proved anything, it's that his body maybe, he may need a smaller schedule, he may need more conducive to where he can't do what he did when he was wrestling full time back in the day. But with that being said, we're just going to have to keep an eye on this, and that's something that we will keep an eye on. And speaking of something we got to keep an eye on, it is the inevitable debut of former top prospect Gable Steveson, as basically Gable Steveson is somebody that the company put a lot of stock into and has tried to develop, but Gable Steveson, I don't know if it's just not having the time, not having the ability, not, I don't know really what has caused Gable Stevenson's progress to stall when it comes to becoming a top star in WWE. But what we do know is Gable Steveson has not progressed as far as WWE has wanted him to since his signing with the company, because they expected um you know I understand that, but I don't know if it's because of school or he just generally hasn't grasped professional wrestling as quick as they expected, because I think they expected a similar situation to what they had with Kurt Angle back in the day. Or Dolph Ziggler, because Dolph Ziggler was a highly touted amateur wrestler, and he made his way to the main, he made his way to NXT, OVW, yada, yada, yada. But the fact of the matter is, not everybody is Kurt Angle or Dolph Ziggler. So we'll keep an eye out on what happens with Gable Steveson. But it seems possible that maybe Gable Steveson could be on his, on the outside looking in rather than on the inside looking out, because he's not grasping it as fast as his brother has, that being Damon Kemp, who's already on TV in NXT. And at the rate he's going, could be on the main roster before his brother. Just a quick final note, and that is that according to reports, I believe it was Dave Meltzer at the Wrestling Observer, the most recent Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer reported that around over 50,000 fans have requested a pre-sale for Wembley for All In. So around every day since the pre-sale code has went out, around 1,500 more people have requested pre-sale codes. So estimates have put the pre-sale request at about 55,000 people have requested pre-sale codes to date for AEW All In at Wembley. So at the rate they're going between now and May 2nd, when tickets go on sale for the event, officially, they are, I believe, more than halfway to selling out the event. And on May 2nd, they would still have 2 months before, or 3 months, 2 official months, but 3 months total before the actual event, when they would need to be completely sold out. So things are looking very well, and I applaud AEW for selling as much as they have for their debut event in one of the biggest and highly respected arenas in the country of England. Wembley has a history, Wembley has a lineage, Wembley has a legacy, and it's not just SummerSlam 1992, it is the arena, it is the venue in England. So props to AEW for selling as much as they have, as it's already defied the expectations. And I think this is going to be exciting to see how much they can sell, in my opinion. But either way, that is it for the news. I will see you for the Rampage preview.